Welcome. Israeli ground invasion of Gaza City leaves 68 dead amid intensified offensive. UN inquiry declares Israel's war on Gaza a genocide and blames top officials. Chinese and Philippine ships collide near disrupted Shah amid rising tensions. UN accuses South Sudan's leaders of systematic looting amid deepening crisis. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Around the World in 30 minutes on Politics and Business Television Abuja. I am Bulus Joanna. Many thanks for joining us. At least 68 Palestinians have been killed following a major ground invasion by the Israeli army into Gaza City, with residents reporting relentless bombardments since dawn. The assault marks a significant escalation in Israel's nearly two-year war on Gaza, which has already claimed over 64,000 lives. The United Nations has labeled the conflict a genocide, prompting widespread condemnation from Arab and Islamic leaders meeting in Doha. International outrage continues to mount as humanitarian conditions worsen across the besieged enclave. Israel says the operation is part of expanded ground efforts to seize control of Gaza City. Meanwhile, calls for an immediate ceasefire grow louder, with global leaders urging restraint and protection of civilians trapped in the conflict zone. Meanwhile, a United Nations Commission has concluded that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, citing 4 or 5 acts defined under the Genocide Convention, including mass killings, inflicting inhumane living conditions, and preventing births. The report released by the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry holds Israeli authorities at the highest levels responsible, pointing to explicit statements and military conduct as evidence of genocidal intent. Commission Chair Navi Pillay stated that the atrocities amount to a deliberate campaign to destroy Palestinians in Gaza, urging global powers to act under international law to end the genocide and punish those involved. Israel has rejected the findings, claiming them biased and unsubstantial, while international pressures mount for sanctions and a ceasefire. The report also highlights the destruction of Gaza's healthcare and education system, widespread displacement, and famine, painting a dire picture of humanitarian collapse. The findings are expected to influence proceedings at the International Court of Justice and intensify calls for accountability. In the meantime, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has arrived in Qatar following a stark warning that time is running out to broker a ceasefire in Gaza. Speaking en route from Israel, Rubio said there is only a short window left to reach a deal as Israeli forces intensify their offensive in Gaza City. He praised Qatar's role as a key mediator despite recent Israeli airstrikes targeting Hamas leaders in Doha, which have strained regional diplomacy. Rubio's visit comes as Arab and Islamic leaders convene in Doha for emergency talks, condemning Israel's actions and urging a unified response. While reaffirming U.S. support for Israel, Rubio also emphasized the importance of Qatar's continued involvement in peace efforts, acknowledging the delicate balance needed to navigate the fallout from the Israeli strike. Turning now to Asia, a collision between Chinese and Philippine vessels occurred near the contested Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea, intensifying maritime tensions between the two nations. China's Coast Guard accused a Philippine ship of deliberately ramming one of its vessels, while the Philippines reported damage and injuries caused by the Chinese water cannon attacks during a resupply mission. The incident follows China's controversial move to designate part of the shoal as a national nature reserve, prompting diplomatic protest from Manila and condemnation from allies including the US, Canada, and Australia. Well, both sides continue to trade accusations, while with Beijing defending its action as lawful and Manila calling them provocative and dangerous. Or you're still watching news analysis live on Politics and Business Television. Still to come, Trump confirms second U.S. strike on drug boat. Stay with us. I forgot to write it here. Anyway, passing, go back up small. Please, thank you. What's everything? I just said I love this. Go down. Welcome back. President Donald Trump has announced a second U.S. military strike on Venezuelan vessel allegedly operated by drug cartels, killing 3 individuals in international waters. The strike, ordered under his directive, targeted what he called extraordinarily violent narco-terrorists transporting illicit drugs towards the U.S. The Venezuelan government has yet to officially respond to the latest attack, though President Nicolas Maduro previously condemned the first strike on September 2nd as a heinous crime against civilians. Critics have raised concerns about the legality of using military force in international waters, while U.S. officials maintain the operations are part of a border counter-narcotics strategy. The strikes come amid a growing U.S. military presence in the Caribbean and heightened diplomatic tensions between Washington and Caracas. In other news, the brutal killings of 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska on a Charlotte Light rail train has shocked both the Ukrainian community and U.S. observers. Igniting fierce political debate, Zarutska, who fled the war in Kyiv for safety in North Carolina, was fatally stabbed by a man with a history of mental illness and prior convictions. Her death has become a flashpoint in America's culture wars, with Republicans blaming Democratic policies for rising urban violence. President Donald Trump declared that Zarutska's blood is on the hands of the Democrats, while Attorney General Pam Bondi vowed to seek the death penalty for the suspect. Ukrainian officials have remained largely silent, promoting criticism from diaspora members who feel abandoned. Analysts warn that the tragedy may be exploited for political gain, deepening divisions over race, crime, and immigration in the United States. In another part of the world, a damning UN report has accused South Sudan's political elite of institutionalizing corruption and systematically looting billions in public funds, worsening the country's humanitarian crisis. The Commission on Human Rights in Southern Sudan revealed that oil revenues and government contracts were diverted through opaque schemes, leaving most citizens without basic services like healthcare, education, and food. The report highlights that $1.7 billion of a $2.2 billion roads program was unaccounted for, with nearly all projects incomplete. Investigators say the state has effectively outsourced its responsibility to international donors while elites enrich themselves. The government has rejected the findings, calling them an attempt to smear its image, even as 76 of the country's 79 countries face severe food insecurity. And that wraps up the program. But before we go, the headlines again. Israeli ground invasion of Gaza City leaves 68 dead amid intensified offensive. UN inquiry declares Israel's war on Gaza a genocide and blames top officials. Chinese and Philippine ships collide near disputed shoal amid rising tensions. UN accuses South Sudan's leaders of systematic looting amid deepening crisis. And for more updates and in-depth analysis, follow Politics and Business TV English on YouTube and Facebook. Connect with us on Instagram at PNBTV English and TikTok at PNB.TV.English. Remember to subscribe and stay informed. From me, Bulus Joanna Ray, do have a lovely day. Bye for now.